Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Now this compact little graphics card was up for sale on a local selling site for £15. I asked the seller if they'd take £10 and next thing you know, I'm in the car on my way to pick it up. With things the way they are right now, any GPU that can be bought for a tenner should be considered a bargain, even if like this one, you might not have heard of it. After slotting it into my i5 setup, Windows automatically detected it and switched the screen resolution to 4K. So at least we know it's capable of 2160p output, even if it is limited to 24Hz. Very cinematic. What we have here, according to Windows, is a GT340, an OEM card based on the Tesla 2.0 architecture, and a card that is harder to find than you might think, especially with GDDR5 memory. Apparently this card was also used by modders who flashed a custom BIOS, overclocked the card and then resold them to OEMs as GTX 340s. Budget Builds Official has an interesting video on the backstory and rarity of the unofficial GTX version, which is the only source of information I can actually find about it, but after a couple of tweaks we can match the speed and memory of said elusive model and hopefully squeeze some more performance from this one. With these changes made, let's talk about a couple of oddities I experienced. The first is how capable this thing is compared to other benchmark videos I've seen, and when I say this thing I mean my specific card. How on earth is this thing hitting 60 FPS in CSGO at 1080p? I paid less than £10.80 for 1080. That would have made a better title, to be honest. It's a bit rough in terms of the percentile figures, but I was not expecting this level of performance. I don't imagine the DDR3 card will do as well here. What happened next though? Well, it's even stranger. I posted on Twitter yesterday about a weird experience I had. Here it is again for those of you that don't follow me. I was playing CSGO on an ancient graphics card, which is this 340. The card froze, I turned the PC off and switched off the PSU for about 20 seconds I should add. I then turned the PC back on and I was still logged into Windows with the game still running. PCs never cease to confuse me. Some of you said this was the system in hibernation, but I've never experienced anything like this before, not after turning the PC off at the switch. What magical power does this card possess? Whatever it is, it's not enough to magic me up some playable frame rates in GTA 5. That's not entirely true, actually. I did have to reset the clock speeds, otherwise the game simply crashed. At 720p normal, we were able to hit at least 30 FPS, and this increased to about 45 when we halved the render scale, which is kind of pointless because if you want 60 FPS, well, it's not going to happen, full stop, and cutting the resolution in half while it benefits performance doesn't make the visual sacrifice to about 360p worth it in my opinion. After about 25 minutes the game crashed again, but on the second time around, when testing for a further half an hour, it didn't crash at all. I've really been getting back into Fallout 3 recently, and luckily enough we can almost hit 60 FPS at 1080p with the medium preset. After exploring the Capital Wasteland for half an hour or so, our average came back at 58. While there certainly are a few drops here and there, this offers a better experience than the Xbox 360 or PlayStation 3 versions, so that's a bonus. Since last year's minor update, MSI Afterburner hasn't been working with this game, but the built-in hardware monitor does work. Apparently though, the GPU is using 0% of its power and no VRAM is being utilised. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that I don't think this is quite accurate. Another open world Bethesda classic next, Skyrim, runs with the medium settings as well, this time with anti-aliasing off. The average was a bit lower here during my bow and arrow based rampage, but again the experience is better than it is on the game's original console platforms, and this card cost way less than the Xbox 360 or PS3 would second hand these days. That does of course depend on where you are though, but so far this mystery card is doing okay. 720p is definitely a better way to go though, especially when it comes to more demanding releases like Crysis. We can either play at 1080p low or 720p high and get the same results. So I decided to go for the extra visual quality over the sharper resolution, but it always comes down to personal preference. Now it's been a while since we've checked out something this old, and let's be honest, quite incapable when it comes to modern games, but it's always fun to find cheap cards online, especially if what they are isn't clear until they're installed in the system. This of course isn't the best way for you to shop around for a graphics card, but it certainly makes for an interesting video, or at least I thought so. Thank you very much for watching then. You may be wondering why we tested no DX11 games, and that is simply because this game, or this GPU, sorry, doesn't support DX11. DX 10.1 is where this thing tops out. If you enjoyed this one, leave a like on it down below, leave a dislike if you didn't, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and hopefully I'll see all of you in the next one.